The federal courts yet again have ordered or have said to the Trump administration to facilitate the return of another prison that was sent down to El Salvador's Seacot dungeon prison. And they, of course, Donald Trump and all the rest of them are saying, no, all of those people, we sent down over 200 people and they're all hardened criminals. They're all horrible. Even though so many news organizations have come out over the next few weeks saying that none of these people have even criminal records. And the handful that do are misdemeanors. I think there was out of the 280 some that they sit down, only like less than a dozen actually had hardened criminal records, which, by the way, I don't think that they should be sent down to a foreign country's dungeon prison either, because we have plenty of prisons here. And if you are in America and you do a crime, you get due process. You get to go to a court, stand in front of a judge in America, and if you are found guilty, you get sent to an American prison, not some foreign, unregulated, unseen prison run by a dictator in another country. I mean, maybe I'm just weird like that. Who knows? But the Trump administration is all about it. I mean, I hear that now that they're opening up a facility in South Sudan in Africa to send people. What are you going to do? Snatch up some seamstress or some day laborer off the streets in LA and then put them on a plane and send them to South Sudan where they've never even been before? This is what we're doing? Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's see here. We got court orders Donald Trump's administration to facilitate another deported man return from El Salvador. The government said a confluence of administrative errors, that sounds familiar, just the same thing that happened to Abrego Garcia, led to Jordan Alexander Melgar Salmilarian, that's, sorry, I'm butchering the name, deported on May 8th. According to the decision by a 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. Federal Court of Appeals Court in New York. Oh, God. New York City courts. Donald Trump hates the New York City courts. They keep telling him to do stuff that he doesn't want to do. Like, follow the law. On Tuesday, ordered Trump to facilitate the return of a man who was deported to El Salvador roughly 30 minutes after the court suspended an order to remove him from the United States. The ruling in Melgar Salmarin's case marks at least the 4th time this year that the President Donald Trump's administration has been ordered to facilitate the return of somebody mistakenly deported. And of course, he's ignored all of those court cases. All of those orders by judges because he does not believe in the Constitution. He wipes his ass with the Constitution on the daily basis. The government said a confluence of administrative errors led to the man's deportation on May 8th, according to a decision by a 3-judge panel. The panel said the administration officials must facilitate his return to the United States as soon as possible. The judges gave them a week to identify his current physical location and custodial status and to specify what steps they will take to facilitate his return. Is that whole facilitate versus effectuate thing going on? Even the judges are being soft and gentle. Effectuate would mean that we would have to go get him. Facilitate means that if they let him go from the jail, then we will allow him to come back into the country. But, what they did with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he is back in the United States. Congratulations, Garcia. That's fantastic. But at the same time, he is back in the States to be tried on trumped-up charges by Pam Bondi, which, by the way, it's all bullshit. We know it's all bullshit. This is just a cover-your-ass CYA kind of adventure that Pam Bondi is on and the Trump administration. But at least he is getting fucking due process in America. And that is at least the very bare fucking minimum, the first step that they can do. Anyway, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was mistakenly deported in March, became a flashpoint of Trump's immigration crackdown, which returned from El Salvador this month to face human smuggling charges trumped up by Pam Bondi in Tennessee. Which, by the way, he was on the guy was a contractor. He was driving a truck and it was filled with other day laborers. They were coming home from a job site, that they drove miles and miles from Maryland to Tennessee to do this work because that's how far they had to go to get some work. And on the way home, they were stopped by cops, and the cops didn't find any problems with him, and they released him. So what's the big deal? Well, Pam Bondi needed something to charge him on, so he was human trafficking all those workers to a work site and then drove them home after they finished the work. Human trafficking? I mean, I guess anybody driving a Greyhound bus is now doing human trafficking. In April, Trump-nominated judge in Maryland ordered his administration to facilitate the return of a man who was deported to El Salvador in March despite having pending asylum applications. U.S. District Judge Stephanie Gallagher ruled that the government violated a 2019 settlement agreement when it deported the 20-year-old man, a Venezuelan native identified only as Christian, in court papers. And in May, another judge ordered the administration to facilitate the return of a Guatemalan man whom it deported to Mexico despite his fears of being harmed there. The U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy found that the removal of the man who is gay likely lacked any semblance of due process. That was that hairdresser guy. And he was snatched up and taken down there. By the way, it is not just immigrants that are getting deported. There have been 70 deportations already of American citizens. They deported American citizens, 70. There have been 700 that are being deported to 700 Americans have been arrested, and out of the 700, 70 of them have actually been deported. So this is not just going to, go against the criminals. This is actually happening to American citizens. You're brown, you'll do. I hear an accent. You must not be from around here. And we're going to send our ICE boys, who are probably corrections officers or bounty hunters, that are just wearing a fucking uniform because they're all masked up. How do you know who these people are? Anyway, this is not the only thing that's going on here. Now we've got a new prison that we want to make in Florida. They're calling this the Alligator Alcatraz. Let's have a look. And it is exactly as bad as you think.
Enforcement supporting the Trump administration and ICE's efforts to detain and deport criminal aliens. The governor tasked state leaders to identify places for new temporary detention facilities. I think this is the best one. As I call it, Alligator Alcatraz.
This is like an old abandoned airfield. Listen to the music. Look, I'm a rock and roll musician, and it makes me feel real bad that the only people that listen to rock and roll are just, not all of them, but anyway, I want to get into it. Of course, it's like rockin' badass macho man music. Hells to the yeah. You ain't getting out of here unless you're going to get eaten by a goddamn alligator.
Square mile area is completely surrounded by the Everglades. Presents a efficient, low-cost opportunity to build a temporary detention facility because you don't need to invest that much in the perimeter. People get out, there's not much waiting for them other than alligators and pythons. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Within just 30 to 60 days after we begin construction, it could be up and running and could house as many as 1,000 criminal aliens.
Look at this asshole, man. This is his I'm a badass walk. Look at this fucking hog right here. Man, that belt is holding on for dear fucking life. But this dude here in the middle, he's such a badass, man. He's badass into rock music down in the Everglades. And, you know, he bought this piece of property so he could turn it into a fucking supermax prison for our dear leader Donald Trump to send as many, immigrants as they can pack in there. 10,000 of them on their way to the South Sudan or to Bukele's dungeon in El Salvador. We'll hold them for you, Donald Trump. And we got all the guns and alligators necessary. Is there any more to this bullshit?
This presents a great opportunity for the state of Florida to work with Miami-Dade and Collier counties. Alligator Alcatraz, we're ready to go.
Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. If it wasn't real, this seems like it's a joke. This almost seems like this is reality television. I mean, he shot the commercial like reality TV. This commercial that he made was made for an audience of one, Donald Trump. Well, actually two, Stephen Miller. You want to show off this little bit of space so Stephen Miller and Donald Trump will feel really excited about sending brown people to, and hope that I remember he said something about, you remember a month ago, he wanted to open up the actual Alcatraz to send people, but they kept telling him it would actually cost more to rebuild it and retrofit it than it would to house these people, because there's not that many people that could fit into Alcatraz. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, look, all of this seems really bad, but at the same time, I want to show you something that is bad, but also should make you feel good. This is a car wash. I believe it's Terrence, California, not LA, California. I knew it was in California. And at this car wash, there are probably some non-English speaking migrants. This is the kind of work that they get. By the way, is this the kind of job that you guys, white man, want? All the racist white folk, you want to kick these people out. Well, who's going to do this job? Are you going to be working on the line at the car wash? I don't think so. And you know that you are not going to be doing that. But anyway, ICE comes to this car wash to snatch up some immigrants. Now, yet again, faces covered, wearing their flak jackets like they're about to invade Fallujah. They got their sidearms on, their Billy Badass work boots. They're ready to go. They're ready to snatch up a non-English speaking poor little migrant who is just trying to make a couple of bucks so he can feed himself and his family. But yet, this is how you're spending your day. I mean, for God's sakes, man. But anyway, the owner of the car wash, she's tough, man. She's tough. Check her out.
Hey. Batch. Hey. Okay, you need to identify yourself. You need to identify yourself. No, you need to identify yourself. This is kidnap. This is kidnap. You need to fucking identify yourselves.
Yeah.
You identify yourself. What's your batch number?
I identify myself to him. I'm talking to him. I'm not talking to you.
She's talking to you, buddy.
We didn't see any of that shit. We didn't see any of that. No tiene que contestar ninguna pregunta. ¿Se identificó con usted? Okay.
She's telling him not to talk. He doesn't have to talk. And this is true. He does not have to talk. And this guy's like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him. Well, he doesn't have to talk to you. And you are on you're on private property. Look, if he had been on the street, he wouldn't have this kind of protection. But he is on private property, and she has every right to tell him to get his monkey ass out of there, and all the rest of his, ICE thugs to get out of there. So
No conteste nada.
Don't say nothing.
Conteste nada.
Don't say nothing.
Ni firme nada.
Look, take a look at this. I noticed this. I keep seeing these guys step out, and they're stepping out past the line like they're vampires and they're not allowed to come in the house without permission. It just watch that.
You question me. You guys are not even ICE. You need to identify yourselves. You're just nothing but fucking bounty.
Bounty hunters, yeah, I think they are too.
Immigration inspection.
Can I see your badge, please?
My badge is right here.
No, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's right there.
No, I need to see it. No, this is kidnap. This is kidnap.
No.
This is kidnap.
This is an immigration inspection.
This is a
You
kidnap.
can record all you want. Just please stay out of the way so you're safe. Okay?
I am staying out of the way, but it is also my right to record.
Actually, as far as I'm concerned, this is your car wash. You are the owner of this place. You have every right to tell them to get off of your private property. Maybe she doesn't know that, but she does have every right. And look at him backing out.
So this is fucking kidnap. Because you guys just show up and you do not identify yourselves, so they don't have to go. They don't have to go with you guys. You identify yourselves? I need to see the badge.
Oh, no, my badge is right here.
No, that is not your badge.
It is.
That is not your badge. You know what? I do have a little bit of education, and I know that is not your badge. That is not your badge. So unless you guys identify yourselves, you are not taking anybody.
Get out of here, you fat bastard. Look at this. Look at that fucking hog, man. Look, I don't believe in body shaming, and I don't believe in calling people too fat or too skinny, but if you're a racist piece of shit asshole with a, wearing your goddamn ice flak jacket and your face covered, trying to snatch up poor people and deport them, throw them in the back of your fucking unmarked civilian car and take them off somewhere so you can collect a bounty, you're a fat fuck and you're a bastard.
No contesta nada. It's like ice with freaking out of shape fat asses.
Yes. Out of shape fat asses. Anyway, I think that's marvelous. I think that's wonderful. I think it's amazing. That woman, we need more of that. We need to see that kind of shit every day. I'm hearing that small towns, when ICE comes in there, not all of them, but some of them, immediately start calling up people in the community and they show up on the street and force those bastards out. I love it. I love it. This is completely unconstitutional. Without giving anybody any due process, taking them out of the country. Was there anything else? Yeah, there wasn't anything else on that report. I just wanted to make sure. But they are taking people out of the country without any fucking due process. And here's the thing, folks. Most of these people will end up getting kicked out of the country anyway. But they'll at least get to stand in front of a judge for a minute and plead their case of asylum. That is what we provide. The law says that if you are on American soil and you claim asylum, you get an asylum hearing. That's the law. And until they change that in Congress, it's going to remain the law. Donald Trump is doing this willy-nilly without any congressional approval. He's just decided, I'm going to do it. And Stephen Miller is just crazy enough and just fascist enough to do it. They don't seem to care. When I see the American people standing up against this stuff, it gives me hope. It gives me hope that people actually care about living in a free democracy. That's what this is all about. The reason why those are autocracies and dictatorships and in all the other countries, and the reason why we say that America is the great nation, is because we are afforded all these rights. We have free speech rights. We have a right to a lawyer, right to due process. Donald Trump does not believe in any of that shit. Donald Trump does not believe in freedom of speech. Donald Trump does not believe in congressional powers. Donald Trump does not believe in judiciary powers. He thinks that the executive branch should run everything and he is the king. It's that whole unitary executive authority that was started back with Dick Cheney back in the 70s when he was, I think he was like Nixon's chief of staff. And their idea was that the president should be king back then. And then, of course, Nixon got his hand caught in the cookie jar and he had to resign. Shit, of course, nowadays he wouldn't have had to resign. He would have just said fake news and he would have remained president. But at least back then, the Republican Party told him to step the fuck down and get the hell out. So he resigned as opposed to going through impeachment for over his bullshit. But the unitary executive authority has been a theory that's been going around for a long time, starting with Dick Cheney and Antonin Scalia before he was a Supreme Court justice. And here it is manifesting with Donald Trump and his administration. And we do not have a Supreme Court that will stand up to him or a Congress that will stand up to him. And now it is up to the people. Now it is up to us to stand up for ourselves because nobody else is going to fucking do it. And it's a lady like that, she's probably, obviously from her accent, she's an immigrant. She's just been in this country. She's probably a citizen at this point. She just went through the process. Just like everybody says, you come to this country legally, you go through the process and you work your way up and then you become a citizen and a business owner and what have you. And, and that's the way America works. But you're not giving these people any choices. I mean, I heard Donald Trump say not too long ago, he's like, what am I supposed to do? Hire all these judges? Yes, man, hire more judges. If you were desperate to facilitate kicking these people out so goddamn badly, you could do it. And I'm not trying to give him any advice to do this, but he could do it by hiring more judges and then having those judges kick them out anyway. But at least they would get a chance to have some due process, to be able to speak their case in front of a judge. But Donald Trump does not want to do that. He just wants to be king. Anyway, he is not a king. But that woman standing up to those ICE thugs, she's a fucking queen and I love her. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.